What is Marshadow? What do we know of it? How is it equal parts cute and creepy? The truth is that we don't know a whole lot about the newest event Pokemon to have been released. So if we don't know much about Marshadow right now, then why am I making a video on it so soon? Well, one reason is because I recently got 2 of them through GameStop and I really wanted to talk about this mythical being. But if I scheduled this upload correctly, its event release in the US has just ended. If you didn't get Marshadow, then hopefully there will be another opportunity to get one at some point, either through another Nintendo event or PokeTuber giveaway like what Pip Night does every now and then. And no, I won't trade out my extra one. I'm selfish like that.
It's mine, you understand? Mine! All mine! Get back in there! Down, down, down!
But back on topic, why don't we know much about it? As of this recording, Marshadow isn't in the official Pokemon website's Pokedex at all. I type in its name on the site and nothing appears. However, if you click on the link discussing the event for it, we do actually have a bit of info. Known as the Gloom Dweller Pokemon, the mythical Pokemon Marshadow conceals itself in the shadows. It never appears before humans, so its very existence is the stuff of myth. Marshadow sinks into the shadows of others and is able to copy their movements and power. Marshadow is a very cautious Pokemon. It sinks into shadows and observes what is going on around it in such a way that no one else will notice it. This may be the reason why it's so rarely seen. Among the numerous Pokemon discovered to date, Marshadow is remarkably the first to combine Fighting type and Ghost type. Even regarding its type, Marshadow is an extremely rare Pokemon. Fighting type Pokemon are usually ill-suited in battle against Psychic type Pokemon, but now you'll be able to take advantage of Marshadow's Ghost type to battle effectively. The rest of the page goes on to talk about how to get Marshadow and talks about his exclusive Z-move. So that's pretty much all the official Pokemon website has to say about Marshadow, but what about in the games?
Able to conceal itself in shadows, it never appears before humans, so its very existence was the stuff of legends. It lurks in the shadows of others, copying their movements and powers. This Pokemon is craven and cowering.
Those 2 words are very interesting, craven and cowering. Craven means lacking in courage, while cowering refers to crouching down in fear. So does that mean Marshadow is a coward? Maybe, but if that's the case, then why does it attack Ash in the newest movie? I haven't heard anything about the plot, nor am I looking up spoilers for the sake of finding out for this video, so I legitimately don't know and therefore will disregard any info the movie has to offer until November. I don't like spoilers, so I'm sorry about that. However, I do find it interesting that the Pokedex entry specifically mentions it's a coward and it's never around humans, like for some reason it doesn't want to be around them. It gives a valid reason why you can't encounter Marshadow by any in-game means other than an event code. Unlike other wild Pokemon who will battle you and risk getting captured, Marshadow does its best to avoid any and all human interaction. Not sure if we have the same explanation for other event Pokemon, maybe Mew? That's the only other one I can think of that's shy around humans. Let me know if there's any others, but I can't think of any at this moment. But thinking about how it's a coward around humans makes me feel bad for Marshadow. I'd want to give the poor little guy a hug, but that might make matters worse, and Marshadow would beat me up just so it could run and hide. A hug might be counterproductive in this case. Speaking of beating things up, let's take a look at how good Marshadow is in battle, shall we? Very quickly after it was made available officially thanks to earlier Japanese events, Marshadow was placed in Ubers within Smogon's tiering system. Why was it quick banned to the most overpowering of this fan-made community's meta? 2 words: Spectral Thief. If the opposing Pokemon sets up, Marshadow can use this base 90 Ghost type move to first steal all stat boosts and then deal damage. If your opponent sets up a Swords Dance and Marshadow then attacks, it's using the opponent's own +2 attack boost against it. On top of that, if it's holding Marshadium Z and no Spectral Thief, it can use its exclusive Z move Soul Stealing 7-star Strike, a base 195 physical move. And if it stole attack boost beforehand, you're not gonna have a fun time surviving that. Plus it's a Ghost Fighting type, the first of its kind. This gives access to great stab fighting moves like Close Combat and Drain Punch, and being a Ghost type means access to the priority move Shadow Sneak and can hold a little support if need be with moves like Will-O-Wisp to cripple incoming threats to it such as Mega Mewtwo X or Mega Salamence. On top of all this, Marshadow has the ability Technician, which increases moves with 60 base power or less by 50%. This makes Shadow Sneak even more of a problem for opponents, and on top of that, it gives viability to run a mix attacking Marshadow with Hidden Power Ice to deal with flying types or make otherwise weaker moves more of a possibility when considering what you want to use. A Stab Technician boosted Force Palm, which has a 30% chance of paralyzing the target. Not a bad option to run, especially if you don't want to deal with defense drops for moves like close combat. For a coward, Marshadow is an amazing little guy that's in Ubers for very good reasons. It's a big threat in a tiny body, and you know what? Maybe Marshadow acts cowardly not because it's afraid of humans, but because it's afraid of its own power and doesn't want to hurt anyone. It's not afraid of people, but of its own strength, and thus it runs and hides like a coward so it doesn't hurt anyone. I'll leave that thought for you to discuss in the comments, and with all that, I'll see y'all later. Hey, does anyone else notice that Marshadow kinda looks like a marshmallow that's been in a campfire for too long? Will the next mythical Pokemon be a chocolate bar? Perhaps maybe even a graham cracker? We need some more Pokemon announced for Ultra Sun and Moon. Come on, Game Freak!